A bomb has exploded in the center of Oman.
Some photos capture the joy, others capture history. But what about those taken just before the disaster? From daring stunts gone wrong to history-altering tragedies, we're diving into some of the creepiest, most haunting images with stories you won't believe. Stick around, you're not going to want to miss this. The airshow at Sknyliv Airport in Ukraine turned tragic on July 27, 2002, as it was meant to display military strength. A Ukrainian Air Force Sukhoi Su-27 fighter jet lost control and crashed into the crowd of spectators. The horrifying accident claimed the lives of 77 people, including children, and injured over 500. It marked the worst airshow disaster ever recorded. Investigations revealed poor planning, pilot error, and insufficient safety precautions as contributing factors, leading to global calls for stricter regulations at aviation events to prevent similar tragedies. On October 1, 1995, Robert Overacker set out to do something that would make people take notice. But things went terribly wrong. He wanted to raise awareness about homelessness, so he decided to perform a daring stunt over Niagara Falls. A lifeguard and an extreme sports enthusiast, Robert used a jet ski to speed toward the edge of the falls, planning to jump with a parachute. Can you imagine the kind of courage it takes to attempt something like that? Awkwardly, his parachute didn't deploy as it should, and instead of soaring through the air, he plunged into the dangerous churning waters below, leading to his tragic death. A crowded New York City subway station turned into the scene of a tragic event. On December 3, 2012, when Ki-suk Han, a 58-year-old South Korean immigrant, was pushed onto the tracks after a confrontation with Naeem Davis. Unable to climb back to safety in time, Han was hit by an approaching train. The tragedy was captured in a photograph that quickly became infamous, sparking debates about the role of photojournalists and the actions, or inactions, of bystanders during emergencies. The image continues to serve as a stark reminder of the complexities of human response in moments of crisis. What would you do in a life-or-death situation to save others? On April 20, 1999, during the Columbine High School shooting, teacher and coach William Dave Sanders displayed extraordinary bravery. As two gunmen opened fire, Sanders raced through the cafeteria, warning students and helping them escape to safety. His heroic actions saved countless lives, but despite efforts to assist him after he was wounded, he passed away hours later. His sacrifice stands as a powerful reminder of his courage and dedication. The tragic loss of Karl Wallender in March 1978 marked the end of a life spent walking the tightrope between thrill and danger, leaving a void that no one could fill. At 73 years old, he attempted one of his iconic tightrope walks in Puerto Rico, spanning 2 buildings. But a sudden gust of wind led to his fatal fall from 121 feet. Wallender had built his legacy performing without safety nets, beginning in European circuses before captivating American audiences. What drives someone to continually challenge gravity itself, even in their 70s? Have you ever heard about the Oklahoma City bombing? It's one of the most devastating parts of American history. In April 1995, Timothy McVeigh, a former soldier, parked a rented Ryder truck filled with explosives right in front of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Moments later, the massive explosion devastated downtown Oklahoma City, killing 168 people, including 19 children, and injuring hundreds more. Here's something chilling to think about. McVeigh was arrested just hours later, not for the bombing, but for a traffic violation. How often do you think major criminals are caught in such unexpected ways? He was later convicted and executed in 2001, while his accomplice, Terry Nichols, received a life sentence without parole. What drives someone to commit such a horrific act? It's a question that still haunts the nation. A quiet scene turned into chaos when a boy was captured in a photograph sitting on his father's shoulders near a car in 1998. What seemed like an innocent moment on a normal day in Omagh, Ireland, was shattered by a deadly car bomb placed by the real Irish Republican Army. The explosion killed 29 people, including children, and left many more injured. Entire buildings collapsed, vehicles were destroyed, and the nation was left in mourning. Such a horrific event raises a critical question. How can societies find a path to peace amidst deeply rooted divisions like those between Northern Ireland's Protestant and Catholic communities? In the skies above Chicago in 1979, a routine flight took a catastrophic turn when an American Airlines DC-10 suffered a mechanical failure. Shortly after takeoff, the left engine detached, leading to a crash that claimed the lives of 271 passengers and 2 individuals on the ground. This remains the deadliest aviation disaster in US history. Investigations showed that inadequate maintenance practices were at fault, leading to global changes in aircraft safety and maintenance standards. The events of November 22, 1963, went down as one of the darkest moments in American history. President John F. Kennedy took a ride in a convertible through Dallas, Texas, with First Lady Jacqueline, Texas Governor John Connally, and Connally's wife, Nellie. Gunshots echoed as their car made the turn onto Elm Street. The president was fatally wounded, and Governor Connally was seriously injured. Kennedy was transported to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where doctors confirmed his death. Before taking off on Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 in 2014, Dave Halley snapped one last picture of his wife and their young daughter. Little did they know, that moment would be the final memory before a heartbreaking tragedy. The flight, bound for Kuala Lumpur, was shot down by a missile while flying over eastern Ukraine, and all 298 people on board lost their lives. Isn't it hard to even imagine what that must have been like for the families involved? This devastating event sparked outrage and led to multiple investigations to figure out who was responsible for the attack. A routine maintenance task turned into a horrifying ordeal at the Piet de Wit wind farm in the Netherlands in October 2013. 4 engineers were working on a turbine when a fire suddenly broke out. While 2 of them managed to escape, the other 2 were trapped at the top of the tower with no way to descend. As the fire consumed the structure, the men held each other in their final moments, leaving behind an image of resilience and heartbreak. Their deaths prompted urgent discussions about workplace safety in high-risk environments and the measures needed to protect those working in dangerous conditions. What started as a flight demonstration ended in disaster in 1994 at Fairchild Air Force Base in Washington. Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Bud Holland, piloting a B-52 Stratofortress, attempted a low-altitude turn during the exercise. The risky maneuver caused the aircraft to lose lift and stall. It led to a fatal crash that took the lives of all 4 crew members. The incident highlighted the devastating consequences of pushing the boundaries of safety and served as a turning point in emphasizing stricter operational protocols in military aviation. It's hard to believe how quickly life can shift. November 30th, 2013 was the day Paul Walker was last seen alive as he got into a Porsche Carrera GT driven by his friend Roger Rodas. They were leaving a charity event in Santa Clarita, California, meant to raise money for the victims of Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. But shortly after leaving, disaster struck. The car crashed into a tree and a light pole, causing an explosion that tragically claimed both of their lives. How often do we stop and think about how fragile life really is? This sudden and heartbreaking event serves as a painful reminder that everything can change in a heartbeat. How far would you go to chase your dreams? Pavel Kashin, a celebrated free runner from Russia, was famous for his breathtaking stunts and fearless skill. In 2013, while attempting an ambitious move on a 16-story rooftop in St. Petersburg, he lost his footing and fell. This heartbreaking accident brought an abrupt end to his career, silencing a figure who inspired so many with his daring and determination. What's the story behind John Lennon's last encounter with a fan? Just hours before his untimely death, Lennon autographed an album for Mark David Chapman, the same individual who would later take his life that evening. As Lennon returned home with his wife, Yoko Ono, Chapman approached him and fired 5 bullets, 4 of which struck him. Despite being rushed to the hospital, Lennon was declared dead upon arrival. The devastating loss of this legendary artist shocked the world, and Chapman was sentenced to life in prison for his act. That's it for today. Which one gave you chills? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up Subscribe for more and hit the bell so you never miss an upload.